I had so many issues falling for FAFSA that I had asked my sister to help me. She had no idea. We messed it up so bad that someone from Nova looked at it and she was like, oh my god, that's incorrect. I was like, what's wrong? She's like, it looks like from how you submitted FAFSA that you have like your parents are making 6 figures. I was like, what? We don't make nowhere near that. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lisette Maya. I'm a first generation Latinx college grad, and I also got bariatric weight loss surgery. We're going to be talking about how to become financially literate. My story. In the sense, I am a first generation college student. There was a lot of terminologies and terms I did not know when I accepted my loans. Hence why having subsidized loans are a lot better than unsubsidized loans. And then there's grants. You're like, what do you mean? What is that? Well, basically, subsidized loans are loans that don't incur interest until like 6 months or like after you graduate. So when you accept the loan, trickle money until after you graduate. But where unsubsidized loans are, as soon as you click accept, it occurs interest immediately. I'm like, okay, great. And then there's grants. Basically, it's free money from the government and you don't have to pay back. It's just something they give to you. And like, everyone wants grants where no one likes subsidized. No one likes unsubsidized, but it's all I got, mostly towards the end of my education, so that's for another story. I really had no idea what, accepting the loans were. I just knew that like I had someone help me file for FAFSA. I had no idea what it meant. I had so many issues filing for FAFSA that I had asked my sister to help me. She had no idea. We messed it up so bad that someone from Nova looked at it and she was like, oh my god, that's incorrect. I was like, what's wrong? She's like, it looks like from how you submitted FAFSA that you have like your parents are making 6 figures. I was like, what? We don't make nowhere near that. It's like, okay, so he fixed it. Luckily I had someone else who was like a student aide that helped me file for FAFSA instead of like filling it manually, which is more work. When you file for FAFSA, you just click link to the IRS and it just copies the information. You're like, boom, cool. And then you have to answer some questions about parents' income. And I always got so confused when it comes to like the little dots where it says 00 because I'm like, what happened if the decimal after? And I'm like overthinking it. So I always had to have some guidance with me. But I remember becoming more financially literate, understanding the interest rate, understanding the principal, understanding like APR and like stuff like that. It wasn't until after I met a coworker of mine when I used to work at a car dealership, and she was like a mother when she needs to be and a friend when she wanted to be. And she had actually gone to Ohio State a few years ago, and she told me that how much money, we were talking about money. And I remember when we were talking about that, we were talking about money, and then money came to education in school, and then loans. And she was like, what's your loans right now? Do you mind if I ask like how much? And it wasn't like just prying to know, like as a motherly instinct, she was like, how much do you owe? Because you're gonna have to pay that in the span of like 10 to 20 years or more, based on like what I'm earning after. And she's like, she saw that, she's like, oh my gosh, like the interest rate's crazy, why is it so high? And again, I had no idea what the interest rate was. I just knew like it was a number, and I'm like, okay, cool. I just knew like the interest rate, and there's a principal. The principal is like the whole thing, but the interest rate is what adds on to the principal. So you can pay as much as the principal, but the interest rate you still need to pay off. So it's like as you're paying, it still grows. So it's like a never-ending cycle, and it takes like some people like 30-40 years maybe. And so I just knew when I accepted the loans, she was like, oh my gosh, like be careful, you always want to get subsidized and grants. I was like, I don't qualify for grants that much. I only qualify for really basically the loans. And it wasn't like my parents were going to help me, because I'm a first generation college student. My parents didn't really have the financial means to provide me with $30, $40, $50,000 of money for tuition every year, because I went to community college because I knew that's what I was going to go to. So basically she told me that as I'm furthering my education, and when I go from community college to a 4-year institute, that obviously I accept my loans, but I should obviously pay the loans that have the highest interest rate, and then pay the loans with the lowest interest rate. Pay those later. You always want to pay the ones that have the highest interest rate first, because those impact your credit score and it impacts your loan. Because if you go on like Fafsa, your loan calculator. Luckily with the pandemic, they put it on pause, but it resumes back in August. So I'm just like, great. So yeah. Why does it matter? It matters because becoming financially literate helps you get more freedom. It helps not become a burden to not know these things, because as you become more independent, you want to buy a car, you want to buy a house, you need credit cards, there's flights. Having good credit is huge. It's an underlying number that you're kind of judged on for mortgages, for cars, for any loan appraisal, or like not loan appraisal, but like any yeah, kind of like to be approved for a loan. Because if you don't have a good credit score, if you don't pay back your loans or any form of loan, it's going to damage your credit score, it's going to build bad history, and it's really hard to bring it back up. In high school, the financial teacher basically told the students it takes at least 7 years for you to rebuild your credit. And I remember someone was surprised. Yeah, it takes 7 years to rebuild your credit. And that's crazy because you're telling me rebuilding payments and all that. You're like, yes, because from the eyes of them, from other companies and brands, they need to see that you're able to pay on time, pay the amount that was borrowed, but even more, and to reward you with like cashback deals and other stuff. Having multiple streams of income to being able to pay for that helps build good credit. And so a lot of people don't know that companies do this on purpose. Because if you're telling me someone who's like naive and gets all these credit cards and like buy so much stuff and then they don't pay it back, that looks really bad. So in the future, like 20, 30, 40 years, if they want to buy a house and they can't buy one because their credit score is awful, they're never going to buy a house. It goes both ways. All I just knew that when I accepted the loans, I just knew I was signing my life away in these loans, but I had no severity until I had that conversation with my coworker. Bless her, love her. Adult tasks. You're like, what do you mean adult tasks? I mean like how to file taxes. I still don't. I know my sister does it and I know it's very hypocritical. Just know like your taxes, what to do with them at least get them filed by someone. And also if you're going to school, make sure to file for FAFSA. They are deadlines. One last thing I want to cover, obviously becoming financially literate, knowing the terms, but also being able to do mundane tasks. I mean, how to have the confidence in calling your doctor, calling your dentist, being able to pay online payments with bills, car insurance, cell phone bills, groceries, the minor details that people forget, because when you're grown into a house from the age of 18 and you go out or move out, you don't understand the full concept of being an adult. From my information, I just don't want people to suffer in silence and to not ask for help. Because what's the whole point is like, oh, your pride, like get over your pride. You need help if you don't know how to do something, because it'll affect you in your life in the long run more likely than you would think. And just ask for help, like, hey, I really don't know how to do this. Can you please help me? Do you know someone can help me file my FAFSA? If you want to know more stories or information about, my next video is going to be on how to break toxic traits, Latinx edition, because I'm Latinx. Please watch my next video. Please like, comment, subscribe, or share, and see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.